This is Cult Film Face Off.
Hello and welcome to episode 27 of Cult Film Face Off. With me, as always, is Chet Roivas.
Hi.
And I am Nick Leonard. In this episode, we take a look at Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's odes to exploitation cinema from the 60s and 70s. Their double feature, Grindhouse, came out in 2007, complete with faux trailers from renowned directors. First up, from 2007, is Planet Terror. A bioweapon is released in Texas, turning thousands into infected flesh-eating creatures. It's up to a group of survivors to stop the infected and those behind its release. Planet Terror.
Say a prayer for your old man. No dead bodies for Dad tonight.
Bad in your arm.
I got bit.
Bit by what?
If I told you, you probably wouldn't believe me.
They're not living.
Hell is that?
They're not dead.
The hell are the bodies?
They're gone.
They're not stopping.
The hell is going on?
Jerry. This infection will spread all over the world. You want the story? I'll spin it for you quick. We got a face full of DC too.
But the laws of science are broken.
Right now, the soldiers are turning.
Don't taunt me, Tramp.
Once that happens, they'll tear us apart whether they want to or not.
The side effect is terror.
I swore to my men that I'd do everything in my power to keep them alive. I never had a choice.
Now, the last hope for humanity
I'm gonna go get Jerry. Fine, but we're taking my car. I'm riding with you.
rests in the hands of a few.
I have no leg!
I made you something. Stand.
Up on. No, the other way. No, the other way.
Chop them off.
How much ammo we got?
Holy shit.
If anyone comes to the door, I want you to shoot them.
What if it's Dad?
I'm gonna eat your brain.
Especially if it's your dad.
Robert Rodriguez, Planet Terror, a Grindhouse feature.
I'm assuming you've seen it.
I've seen it both theatrically. No, sorry, I've seen the you know, because it was a flop in America, so it got released everywhere in the world separately.
So you've seen the Grindhouse pairing, how it was initially intended to be.
Yeah. When the trailers started arriving for Grindhouse, for the first, I mean, I thought about this fleetingly, but from that time, I was adamant for a brief period that I was going to fly to America to see that film on opening day, and I never got round to it. So when it tanked, I was fucking devastated because I thought I'm never going to see this. But on my birthday, the following year, my local outhouse did a one night only screening at midnight, and I went and saw it, and it somehow exceeded my expectations, and it's like in my top 3 favourite cinema going experiences of all time.
I remember it being re-released. I mean, I was completely gutted because from the moment the artwork dropped and the synopsis came out of these and what they were going to do and how they were going to have fake trailers in it, and the fake trailers came online. And I was absolutely fucking gutted that I had to watch the elongated individual releases of each of the films. So when's the last time you saw Planet Terror?
In this form, not since the cinema, but I've seen the DVD version several times. I mean, 3 or 4 times since. Probably most recently about 2 years ago. What about you?
I've seen Planet Terror at least half a dozen times. I've seen Death Proof once.
At the cinema was Death Proof?
No.
Oh,
no, I
okay.
haven't seen either at the cinema.
Okay, so what do you think of Planet Terror watching it now?
I love Planet Terror. It's a great movie. It's so entertaining, and done by someone who had so much time and effort has gone into recreating the look and the feel and the sound of those films of those decades, those exploitation films of those decades. The score is something that I didn't remember particularly sticking out in my mind, but I fucking love the score in Planet Terror. Apparently Rodriguez wanted to get John Carpenter to score, but he didn't, so Rodriguez took on composing duties himself and did a fucking great job.
Yeah, I completely and utterly agree with that. This is an absolutely sensational comedy. It's also got two performances in it that should have been breakout roles. If this was a success, they'd be probably much more prominent than they are. Freddie Rodriguez and Marley Shelton are like... These should have been star-making.
Yeah, Freddie Rodriguez is somebody that I recognised him from 6 Feet Under.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But I don't know what he's been in or seen him.
Both of them. This is difficult. In this day and age, it's hard to gauge whether an actor's doing really well because there's so much television and you can't possibly watch all of it. They've both had really, really stellar careers in TV. But these are star-making... Marley Shelton in particular, she plays Dakota, Josh Brolin's wife. She performs with such conviction. It would have been so easy for her to be a bit winky or a bit sort of, she could have sold it short, but she's so goddamn good. It could have been a histrionic performance, and it absolutely wasn't. She
is fantastic and responsible for one of the most wince-inducing sequences I've ever seen in a fucking film. When she is breaking her wrists on the car trying to get it in.
Yeah. In fact, I think absolutely everybody in this film is absolutely terrific. I think it's a brilliantly directed and brilliantly acted film. The one exception is Quentin Tarantino, who I swear to God, most bad actors get better as they go along. He's somehow getting worse because thinking back to him as Mr. Brown, like he was Brando compared to this, and then you think of him in Django Unchained, he's even worse. He's so... he can't even take a syringe in the eyeball convincingly. He's a fucking shocking actor. But then again, I suppose that's part and parcel. This is the one film where he can get away with it.
Well, I completely agree because this is essentially. I completely agree with that because he juts out in every single film he stars in. He juts out. From Dusk Till Dawn, he's terrible in it. Django Unchained is just stupefying self-indulgence that he puts himself in that ending scene with the first podcast we did.
Wolf Creek?
Yeah.
Mick Taylor?
Yeah.
No, it's not him, is it?
It is.
Is it?
It is. And he's got a terrible Australian accent.
Yeah, I know.
The guy he does that scene with is Mick Taylor.
How the fuck could I not know that? Really?
Fuck yeah.
John Jarrett, yeah.
John Jarrett, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Fuck. I had absolutely no idea. But the thing is, that's so... whenever I watch Django Unchained, and I love that film to absolute bits, when I always forget it's coming, God, I forgot.
Yeah.
Tarantino's here. There's even a bit... that bit when he gets the dynamite out of the pouch on the side of the horse, he can't even do that convincingly. You just look at him and go, why do you do this, QT? You fucking sabotage your own goddamn films.
But this is the only performance he can just about get away with because it's in sitting with the fucking tone of the movie.
Yeah.
But he's a horrific fucking screen presence.
No, it's terrible. But even do you know the guy who plays the strip club owner?
He's the realtor for Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, and his actual doctor. And they fit perfectly. It gives it that flavour of where random people would just randomly get cast. It's totally in keeping with that tradition. It's one of those films that there are so many lovely touches in it. I love the way when Bruce Willis is introduced, it lingers on his face. The way old movies used to look what we got. Yeah, there's the movie stuff.
I love that about this movie. The fact that it's like every single one of Bruce Willis's shot. He's never actually talked to any other actor, so it is like the old films where they drafted somebody in to do one day of filming, they can plaster him all over the fucking posters and drop his name.
Yeah, but it's just like presenting a trophy. That first shot of him just. Yeah, Rodriguez also said that when that excellent gag, which is it's actually practical in Death Proof, but here it's actually more of a source of jokes where it says real missing and then there's that fire. He said that that's basically where all the boring Bruce Willis stuff would have been, where he's detailing his plan, and you just realise you absolutely don't need it. The film's so much better without all of that stuff. I love the Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, the way her performance is. It's all butt shots and cleavage, and she keeps flicking her hair back. It's so sexualised, it's just ridiculous. And I love the way the visuals start deteriorating when there's a really big gory set piece. It made me think of the way, if you ever passed around old bootlegs of old movies, there's the good bits are always because people have rewound them relentlessly. I don't know how that works with celluloid, but it was just a really nice, really cool touch, I thought, because it kind of made it seem all the more illicit and dodgy, because a lot of the time you're like, what the fuck? Completely covered it up.
Great. Jeff Fahey as JT is fucking great as well, man. Goddamn sauce!
I mean, Michael Biehn, guys who are just often misused are just really, really terrific. I mean, everyone.
And even Tom Savini, who's definitely guilty of turning in some pretty bad form. He is brilliant. He's brilliant in that role, and they've got the fantastic head nod to his work with the obligatory getting pulled apart by every organ, four-way tear.
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's a really good yarn. It's a really simple story, really well spun, and it's so well paced. I think it is Robert Rodriguez's best film by a mile. I mean, I love Sin City, but this is his best film. And it's also, the reason it's so glorious is because it really is expensive. This is actually a blockbuster. Rather than it being one of those films where they try and hide the lack of budget, this is a big, gory, fucking huge action film. They use that budget's used in all of the right ways. The action scenes and the gore, which is what you want, and it's just relentless, and it just delivers.
I'm just so happy that Robert Rodriguez made this, because nobody else could have pulled this off to what he did. He evokes films of Fulci, Carpenter and Lenzi, but actually brings something to the table that is as good, if not better, than all of those directors' work. It's so entertaining. Yeah. There's so many bits you just kind of almost fucking slap me off. That's just fucking genius. Yeah. The bit was the helicopter, there's a helicopter scene which is just fucking pure fucking fanboy brilliantness, where there's just this huge rotor blade is just decapitating the effects, and you just go, fuck, yes!
Yeah. Whereas Death Proof, I think you could argue that Death Proof is entirely indulgent. This isn't indulgent at all. It's just Robert Rodriguez trying to be as relentlessly entertaining as he. I mean, it's so joyous from start to finish that the slightly longer version, the standalone version. If you look at the way those cuts, it's tiny little trims. You don't actually lose a whole lot. There's like a few.
So there's not sequences. It's just seconds here.
No. I mean, Death Proof loses a completely superfluous. I think. Actually, both of them are superfluous. There's the Michael Park scene in the hospital is twice as long, and you see the lap dance. I don't think those are necessary at all. So it feels more indulgent. So I think both films are better. Yeah. But this. It doesn't really. The cuts to this make hardly any difference because they're tiny little changes, really. I don't know how Rodriguez is going to top this, because he's kind of allowed to be completely callous with things like logic, with like character motivations and stuff, because that's kind of the point. And in a lot of cases, it's used for really excellent jokes. There are some really, there's just fucking great jokes throughout the whole thing. I don't know why I feel this way, like the same I felt when I watched Brain Dead. Why isn't he doing like really straight up comedy?
In his films, he's got even in Spy Kids, there's some brilliant sight gags. He's really good on sight gags. Yeah. And I'd fucking agree. Why isn't he just doing straight out, balls out comedies? And he's obviously got. This is a guy that is just obviously so in love with this genre that he's bringing to life. This is someone who is respectful of the genre, loves the genre, and has basically fucking got everything at his disposal to create an amazing fucking piece of cinema.
Yeah. It's
so entertaining. It has, as I said, I've seen this half a dozen times at least.
Me too.
And seen Death Proof once. That's testament to kind of how I feel about those two movies. We're going to go on to talk about Death Proof in a minute. I will say there is one note that it does jut out to me, and it's kind of like fucking other. Robert Rodriguez casts his son in the role of the son of the two doctors. Him shooting himself in the back of the car is just fuck. Which is odd that he's put that in there. Yeah. It's just something that kind of juts out as being wow. That's the first. It's actually just a very poignant, serious, sad point.
In all those movies, there's always a moment where it goes a little bit too far.
Yeah. And that's the ultimate going too far. Having your son shoot himself in the head in the back of the car.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of like ballsy as fuck.
Yeah. But completely reminiscent of those type of movies. I'm surprised. On the one hand, I'm not surprised that this didn't do as well as it should have done, because I remember before it got announced that Grindhouse was being released in Europe separately, I remember being in a cinema when they played the Grindhouse trailer and people were laughing. You get this. People are laughing at something. When Rose McGowan had the machine gun leg, I was like, no, I was loving it. But people were laughing. It's like, oh my god, that's taken as if we were supposed to take it in any way seriously.
The thing is that it is a niche market, and testament to being a niche market is how they performed at the box office. So a lot of people are not going to get it.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. I also thought it was weird that they just outright lied in the trailer. The voiceover guy goes 2.5 hours of mayhem or whatever, and it's 3.25 hours. So that's quite a chunk. That's 45 minutes. I think they were trying to make it seem more palatable. Like, it's only 2.5 hours. Well, if that's still a film, I mean, a film's 2.5 hours all the time. As soon as you know it's 3 hours, it's very.
There's a turn. People are going to be like, yeah, that's like sitting through like a Godfather. They're going to be like this. I don't know if I'm going to commit to that.
I mean, you do. If you know a film's 3.25 hours, you often think twice, perhaps, if you're not that keen on seeing it.
Yeah, I suppose it is an arse to pitch to the general public to sit in the cinema for 3.5 hours, unless you absolutely love the genres that they're going to be covering.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, apparently, when this film came out, a lot of people walked out. Even though there isn't a credit, the credits don't roll on Planet Terror. It jumps to the trailers, but people still managed to walk out halfway through thinking that was the end of the film, which is quite an achievement. The Blu-ray has got a really wicked feature on Planet Terror, on the special edition Grindhouse. Because you can't, I mean, you can't replicate seeing that film in the cinema with everybody there to see it. It was packed. You can't beat that on a Friday night at midnight. I mean, it was perfection in a cinema. There's an option on the Blu-ray to watch Planet Terror with crowd audio, so you can hear.
How's that?
I mean, it's really interesting, like you're hearing them react to the gags and stuff. But it's one of those crowds where periodically someone will go, "Yeah, woo, woo," and he's like, "No, don't do that, don't do that." But it is, it reminds you what a
fucking experience is to watch it with a room full of people.
Oh yeah, I mean, unbeatable. Like I said, it's just one of the best times I've ever had at a cinema. And also, there's he's got that. Rodriguez DVDs all have the 10-minute film score where he just crams a load of information about how they did some of the special effects and stuff. And in this, it's fucking great. But yeah, I mean, this film's absolutely brilliant.
I couldn't agree. I love it's one of my favourites. It was a go-to film for a long time as well. At a certain period, it's just you put it on when you get back from the pub. You're with a load of mates that you live with. You stick on Planet Terror.
Yeah.
It's just fucking entertaining from the first sequence to the end. All of it is entertaining.
But I mean,
there's no flab in it. There's no flab in this film at all.
It's overpoweringly entertaining. I mean, there's so much to love, and I love basically everything about it.
Strong like a bull. Yeah, it's just a fucking great movie, Planet Terror. I'm just one of those things that just pains me that I didn't see it on a big screen.
I had the sky high expectations. I've been in a cinema and had high expectations before, and they've been met a few times and exceeded, like, I think Inception and Pulp Fiction, the only times I walked in expecting the greatest film of all time, and I've got something akin to that. Grindhouse was exactly the same. I walked out like, I don't know how entertained you can possibly be in the cinema, but that's about as high.
The fucking highest, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a fucking great movie.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay.
Oh, okay, well, hold on. Before we go to the next film, let's talk about the trailers that are in Grindhouse. There are 4 trailers in Grindhouse.
Yeah, they're little mini masterpieces in themselves.
Yeah. I've done a little top 4, so I'll count down and you can tell me afterwards whether you agreed with in order of preference.
Cool.
My number 4 is Werewolf Women of the SS by Rob Zombie.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's my bottom of the pile.
Yes, that's... whereas all of the other trailers really try to make it seem, that they really want to be seen as... They really want to con people into thinking that they're real movies. Rob Zombie is just like a really bad spoof. And it's so over the top. I mean, it basically has one joke. Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu. That's the joke.
But he just blended a lot of stuff that never would be sat in with each other in a film like that.
Yeah.
He's basically based it on the Ilsa She-Woman of the SS movies, but then brought werewolves and Fu Manchu. Basically, he's completely fucking missed the point.
Yeah, exactly. And he's directed it like a spoof, so everyone's in on the joke and it's broad. I have never even slightly liked a Rob Zombie film, and this didn't change it. I just thought it was badly done.
Well, it just showed you. Well, it was no surprise that Rob Zombie did that segment because he's never done a good movie in his life.
I agree. It's not really aping anything. It's just like he went off on his own and just came up with this. I mean, if I was QT and Rodriguez, I'd have been like, we're probably going to go out with that. Although it did get a fucking huge laugh.
Didn't Guy Ritchie get the fucking email?
Do you reckon Guy Ritchie?
Well, I'd rather see Guy Ritchie doing a spoof trailer than Rob Zombie.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people I'd rather have doing it than Rob Zombie. But the interesting thing is that it really is hard. If you've ever even attempted to try and make something that looks like a trailer, it's fucking hard because you have to try and cram in as many locations so it doesn't look like it's set in one place.
The skill of cutting a good trailer is like making a fucking little movie in itself. There's so many things you've got to hit, so many points you've got to hit in such a condensed amount of time that you've got to show it.
And Rob Zombie, it looks like he made it in a day. which is the other ones look like they could actually be filmed. They really do, and this one doesn't. I mean, I thought this is the only thing that's wrong with the Grindhouse experience. Really, the only properly fundamental thing I think. Okay, my number 3, which could have been my number 1 because I do like it a lot, is Don't by Edgar Wright.
I loved.
Excellent.
I loved Don't.
So do I.
I mean, it's funny.
Yeah.
It looks genuine.
Yeah, it does.
And also it riffs on all those "Don't go into the woods, don't go into the house" film. But the way it's cut, the fucking cutting is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is brilliant. And it's also when Edgar Wright explained what it was, I was like, yeah, I remember when they take a European movie and take it to America and try and disguise the fact that it wasn't made in America, and then and kind of disguise the fact what it's about. And it makes no sense. It's a load of fucking disparate things. Is it a zombie film? Is it? What the fuck is it?
Yeah, I mean, the imagery of Nick Frost covered in shit, growing up the camera, fucking Abby on the floor.
Yeah, and that was probably when I saw it in the cinema. Probably the biggest laugh was when they reveal the title. Yeah, Don't. And then it ends. Yeah, that's brilliant. That could have been my number 1, but I'm watching it this time. That was my number 3. My number 2 is Machete, which opens the film, which is just like Planet Terror. It's a load of great jokes. Yeah. It's just a load of fucking hilarious jokes, ridiculous action scenes.
Well, and you can see why it got picked up, and it's Spawn film, and
possibly why it's not. I mean,
it's not great.
No.
I've not seen the second
Me
one.
Me neither.
But the first one wasn't great.
No, it wasn't. It was like
It's a real pity
because it was basically perfect in its original incarnation. Yeah. Making a film just was completely unnecessary. But I mean, the trailer, it's a fucking great way to kick things off as well.
Yeah.
Just great jokes for a minute and then it starts. Number 1, inarguably, I think Eli Roth's best film.
Thanksgiving, 100%.
Thanksgiving.
It's so funny. It's so dark. I mean, so dark.
It has at least one of the. It has the most horrific kill, which again.
Trampoline.
Yeah. Horrific. And the noise people made when they saw this in because it's properly horrific. And the way they have that second tier voiceover guy, like they used to in horror films, they couldn't find it. So it's someone doing a really bad impersonation of the guy. And
but it just looked genuinely
really
washed out, sleazy, that horrible kind of glitchy synth. It's just utterly fucking believable as a Grindhouse trailer.
Yeah, it is, and
it's the best thing he's done.
By a mile. And the unbelievably dark little bit at the end, which looks, it looks like it was cut. It looks like it was cut in by mistake, and you just go. Yeah, I mean,
it's outrageous. It's fucking outrageous how bad that last segment is. You just go.
But it's fucking Thanksgiving. It's so good. I mean,
I love Thanksgiving. I had them in that order as well. And my thing is fun. When we talked about placing these in order, I thought immediately, my favourite one was Don't.
Me too. That's what.
And then watching it again, it's just like, no, thanks. I love the fact of that. The big mascot of the town getting decapitated, and then boom, the head gets kicked across the ground.
It's so good. All of the trailers bar Rob Zombies are just fantastic. What a fantastic thing.
But what a great idea to draft in people to do the faux trailers. And obviously there's an element of fucking there's a bit of competition here. Yeah. So people have done some really good work. And like Eli Roth has never done anything better.
No doubt about that. But yeah, that's. If you've only seen the film separately, the Grindhouse experience even at home, I just think is well worth having.
Yeah, watching these as they were intended to be. Yeah. So it's the first time I've watched them as they're intended to be, and I watched them in a completely fractured way because I saw the trailers online, and then I saw the two films individually, like one after the other. But watching them as they were meant to be, as the directors intended them to be, that is the only way you should be watching them.
No, I agree.
So, without further ado, let's jump into the second part of the double bill, Death Proof.
Yep.
An insane stuntman has modified his car into a death machine where his unsuspecting female victims are subject to high-speed collisions where Mike walks away unharmed. Death Proof.
He's got charm.
Is there anybody in this place you could vouch for to give me a ride home?
Fair lady, your chariot awaits. He's got style.
Do I frighten you? This is my scar.
It's your car.
And he's got a set of wheels to die for.
Well, Pam, which way are you going? Left or right?
Right.
That's too bad. Since you're going the other way, I'm afraid you're gonna have to start getting scared immediately.
from Quentin Tarantino, the director of Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Kill Bill, comes Death Proof.
This car is 100% death proof. Only to get the benefit of it, honey, you really need to be sitting in my seat.
His method is brutal.
Now I gotta catch me my other girlfriends.
His weapon is speed. Watch out! But his latest targets are about to fight back.
Let's kill this bastard.
You know I can't let you go.
Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof.
Ladies, that was fun!
A Grindhouse feature.
Right, so Death Proof, as I've already said moments ago, I've seen this once.
Did you see it in the cinema?
No.
Sorry, I just answered it. That's right.
So yeah, I've seen it once. What about you?
I saw it before Grindhouse. I saw it theatrically released. I saw it at preview with a live Q&A with Quentin Tarantino in the cinema. After I saw the film, I went home and I wrote a review, and it was a glowing review, and I said it's his best film since Pulp Fiction.
Fucking hell!
Which
you were smoking a lot of weed back then.
No. It was a bit. I went a bit overboard, but I did absolutely adore it. So what you didn't see it in the cinema? You saw it on like DVD.
Yeah, I saw it on DVD. Yeah, I basically there was part. It's a film of two halves. I still feel it is a film of two halves. The first half is really strong, and the second half is overlong, and you have a second group of women who are just not as engaging or fleshed out in any way like the first group of women are, and the dialogue was. I was really looking forward to watching it in a cut down version, because I was hoping that the dialogue would be less kind of jutting as it was when I watched it the first time around. I thought there was a lot of long, drawn out dialogue in it, watching it the first time. It didn't have the zip, didn't have the sing, didn't have the flavour of Tarantino dialogue in films like Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction. Kurt Russell is fantastic. It's one of my favourite Kurt Russell performances. This and him in The Thing. He's brilliant as Stuntman Mike. He just kind of exudes kind of charm, smooth talking, but with an underlying feeling of being a fucking psycho. So yeah, it was definitely the weaker of the two back then. And it was fairly similar. I felt this time I really enjoyed the first half of it, the second half of it not as good, and I loved the ending.
I've never liked it quite as much as I did when I saw it for the first time. When Tarantino films come out, there's this really lazy criticism that you see critics come out with, which is all the characters sound like Quentin Tarantino, and I always just think that's the most lazy bullshit thing to say. But in this is actually an issue. I think it sounds like a load of people speaking Quentin Tarantino dialogue, and I think it's because the characters aren't as fleshed out as they need to be, and it is indulgent. It really is indulgent. I kept thinking, get to the fucking point so many times when they're labouring over information. So there's information that we need, like the fact that one of them is carrying a gun, the fact that one of them is a little bit simple, but it's, in Planet Terror it would have been one line of dialogue, and that would have established it, and that would have been move on, we're going, but things take a lot longer. But it's much more about getting into a groove and kind of getting relaxed and enjoying being in the company of these characters, because it does give the action a real kick. Because honestly, every time I watch this, you get to a point you're like, oh fuck, of course, like you completely forget what kind of film you're watching, and when Kurt Russell turns up again, you're like, shit. It's a completely. I really think that it does well to be so completely different from Planet Terror. Such a change of pace.
What I found of it in terms of, like, obviously the length that Rodriguez has gone in terms of having looking at the film as on damaged celluloid. Death Proof looks way too crisp, way too clean. The colours are way too vibrant.
Yeah, he abandons the whole conceit about halfway through. I remember reading that.
But it's weird because the first half does look so good.
Yeah, and then it's just basically a high def. I mean, it looks like a normal film. Like,
well, that's the problem. It shouldn't look like a normal film.
I don't know. Is that Tarantino's ego? I mean, why did he?
Well, I don't. I mean, this is Tarantino ego is on a show, and it's on a show explicitly in the fact that he puts himself in a bar scene, being with all the girls want to hang out, and he's giving them shots, and he's calling the drinks cool names. I mean, fuck off, Tarantino.
I don't know why he does that, but whether or not you warmed to the Tarantino dialogue or not, and I really did when I first saw it. I really did. I was completely entranced. It's never legitimately bad, I don't think, and it's worth waiting for the final car chase, which is just absolutely. I mean, I found it quite hard to watch, to be honest, because until Zoe Bell flies off the car for that whole period, the initial period of the car chase, I don't think there's a single stationary perspective. You're always moving in that car, and
the sound of the cars as well.
Yeah, that's true as well.
They sound fucking great. Just to zip back a little bit, the crash that punctuates the halfway of the film is something to fucking behold. My God.
Oh, right.
The car crash sequence is it's an amazing piece of fucking work.
Yeah.
It is blood soaked, it is shocking, it is so well done, and genuinely horrific in a shocking moment.
Yeah, it's nasty. I mean, this is a really wicked conceit for a movie killer, having a killer car, basically. I mean, it's so stupid, but it's such a solid filmic idea that, I mean, I could, if this film didn't end the way it did, I would watch legitimately Death Proof 2, 3, 4, a guy going around picking up cars.
Doing elaborate fucking car crashes.
Yeah. It's a really terrific conceit. But yeah, it was weird how halfway through I did notice that it was basically, it didn't look like an aged, all of the effects that they used to make it look aged had gone.
And that just juts out so severely because of the care and the attention and the painstaking methods that fucking Rodriguez obviously went to make it look as authentic as possible.
Yeah, and the Planet Terror is supposed to look quote unquote awful, but I actually think it looks so brilliant. It's so colourful and rich. It's great to look at. Whereas I think Tarantino missed a trick. I think he should have kept.
But the way everything was lit, and then the bar sequence and outside with the rain, they just looked great.
Yeah.
Whereas on the road with the women and buying the car and everything, it just looked far too lush.
Yeah, it was weird. And like I said before, the fact that there's a reel missing is used to skip over the lap dance, which was superfluous in the first place. And it never quite. I mean, this is supposed to be a completely different film, and I get that. But Robert Rodriguez just wants to entertain you, and Tarantino kind of wants to play you a little bit. It's like I said, there is something powerful about the fact that I get so swept up in the story that I always forget that this is a fucking killer car movie, because you're just hanging out with these people for like long periods of time, and then wham, Kurt Russell comes in and just fucks everything up. So they're completely different films. It is worth going to movie-censorship.com, because there is a painstakingly detailed breakdown of the differences between each version of each film, to the frame in some cases. But yeah, Planet Terror, tiny changes, a couple of little gags are missed, but and then Death Proof loses 2 completely superfluous big scenes. And
so how much you shaved off the running time of Death Proof?
Quite a bit, I think. I think it's bordering on 15 minutes, maybe more.
Because it did feel shorter.
Yeah, but if you go and watch the theatrically released standalone Planet Terror, there's not really a lot of difference, because it's tiny little trims that you wouldn't necessarily notice. Zoe Bell can't act.
Well, she's a stuntwoman, not an actress.
She's not. I mean, she basically plays herself. But there's something. This is one of the reasons that the Mission Impossible movies work so well. When you can see that the actual character is there.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
It makes a difference.
Yeah. I mean, it is thrilling watching her strapped to that fucking car for the last 10 minutes.
And the fact that
you genuinely feel that they are fucking going
hurtling along. Yeah. And just the fact that like I said, until Kurt Russell comes back, there isn't a stationary shot. So it's just, I honestly found it a bit queasy, and little things like the way Rosario Dawson keeps leaning out saying, "Watch your feet," when he's going and running into them. Tiny little things like that. That car chase is a hell of a fucking set piece. When I finished watching this the other day, and I put the Blu-ray back into its sleeve, the collector's edition Blu-ray, and I watched some of the extras and stuff, I put it and I looked at the box and I just thought, I honestly think that might be my favourite film. Honestly, I love it so much. And when I knew we were going to have to come to picking a winner, I honestly thought I was going to say, I can't pick one. I think you just have to have them together. They accentuate each other. I think they're great together, and it brings out the best in them, I think. But Death Proof, I still really, really like Death Proof, but it loses a little something every time I watch it. And Planet Terror only gets better the more I watch it.
For me, Planet Terror is just an amazing piece of work. I enjoy it, and I get so much enjoyment out of it every time. Death Proof, I've seen it the first time, and I've watched it again now. I love that first sequence. For me, it's a film of two halves. It's kind of like the first half is brilliant, the last segment of the car chase is brilliant, but there's a superfluous dip in that film with a lot of just quite inane dialogue that isn't really adding much to it. I kind of had to slosh through it again. So for me, Planet Terror is the stronger of the two offering, but as a package, with the faux film trailers and with these two directors, they're great to see as they were intended with each other, with two directors paying massive homage to exploitation sleaze-oramas of the past. So it's great seeing it as a whole, but the stronger film for me is Planet Terror.
I do agree. I mean, I do think that the Tarantino film does actually work.
Rodriguez does not seem self-indulgent. He is a guy that is lovingly recreating those genres, whereas Tarantino does feel that he is playing about more, but also being a bit too self-indulgent.
I'd say watch it on its own, but watch
them all together. You've got to watch for the whole experience.
I love it. I absolutely love it as a package. I fucking love it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen them as they were intended to be,
do it.
See them.
Yeah.
See it all, because it's just a fuckload of fun to be had.
No question.
I think that wraps things up.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter. All the episodes are edited to video on YouTube. That's it. Ciao, bless.
Laters.